Today's sermon is titled Emotionally Intelligent Leaders, to be delivered by Dolores. The sermon covers the following principles. Principle 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. And Principle 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Dolores?
You know, looking out here right now with these few people here reminds me of our first days of the congregation, right? We had 14. I think we have 12 in here right now. So we've grown. We're coming up to our Congregational Board of Trustees elections, and we'll be asking for some new people to step into leadership positions. I thought it'd be good for us to do a little research on what components and competencies would be good for leadership in our congregation. As Diane read in one of the earlier readings, our ability to grow as a community is in large part due to the emotional intelligence and competencies of the leaders that we have. My research, so slide 1. Thank you. My research took me to a book by best-selling author Daniel Goleman, The Emotionally Intelligent Leader. Daniel Goleman is an internationally known psychologist who lectures frequently to professional groups, business audiences, and college campuses. As a science journalist, Goleman reported on the brain and behavioral sciences for the New York Times for many years. His 1995 book, Emotional Intelligence, was on the New York Times bestseller list for a year and a half, with more than 5 million copies in print worldwide in 40 languages, and a bestseller in many countries. Apart from his books on emotional intelligence, Goleman has written books on topics including self-deception, creativity, transparency, meditation, social and emotional learning, eco-literacy, and ecological crisis. If you can, while you're listening to this, please apply these concepts to yourself and to people you know. The actual content I'm about to read is from Key Step Media. They teach and present his concepts in a very concise manner. So here we go. Daniel Goleman found the most effective leaders are alike in one crucial way. They all have a high degree of what has become known as emotional intelligence. It's not that IQ and technical skills are irrelevant, they do matter, but mainly as threshold capabilities. That is, they are the entry-level requirements for executive positions. He says, along with other recent studies that clearly show emotional intelligence is the essential ingredients in effective leadership. Without it, a person can have the best training in the world, an incisive analytical mind, and an endless supply of smart ideas, but he still won't make a great leader. So what does emotional intelligence mean? It refers to a different way of being smart. Emotional intelligence is a key to high performance, particularly for outstanding leadership. It's not your IQ, but rather it's how you manage yourself and your relationships with others. Slide 2, please. So I understand this slide is a little fuzzy, so I'll explain all of these. There are 4 domains and 12 competencies in the Daniel Goleman model of emotional intelligence. The 4 domains on the top are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. So we'll cover each of their competencies. First, what is a competence? A competence is a skill to perform a role or a task. There are 2 types of competency: threshold competencies and distinguishing competencies. Threshold competencies are the minimum one needs to handle the cognitive complexity of a given task. Distinguishing competencies are those traits found in the highest performers that set them above the average. Daniel Goleman and Richard Boyatzis analyzed the internal competency models of dozens of organizations to identify distinguishing competencies common to all, and built their model of emotional intelligence from that data. Emotional self-awareness lies at the heart, so you can see that under self-awareness. So emotional self-awareness lies at the heart of emotional intelligence. Emotional self-awareness is the ability to understand our own emotions and their effects on our performance. You realize how your feelings affect you and how well you're doing. Your values and sense of purpose help set your course of action. Emotional self-control, also known as, and that's under now, self-management. Emotional self-control is known as emotional balance, is the ability to keep your disruptive emotions and impulses in check to maintain your effectiveness under stressful or even hostile conditions. With emotional balance, you recognize disruptive emotions, emotions that get in the way like high anxiety, intense fear, or quick anger, and you find your ways to manage your emotions and impulses. You stay calm and clear-headed under stress, even under crisis. Positive outlook is the ability to see the positive in people, in situations and events. It means persistence in pursuing goals despite setbacks and obstacles. You can see the opportunity in situations where others would see a setback that could be devastating, at least for them. The achievement competence means that we strive to meet or exceed a standard of excellence. We look for ways to do things better. We set challenging goals. We take calculated risks. There's a big paradox about achievement orientation, and that is when you have positive goals, it's very helpful. But if you stay in this overdrive all the time and try to drive other people at the same pace, you can become a toxic leader. Even though achievement drive helps you get to your career goals, it may make you unhappy in life. The adaptability competence is flexibility and handling change and juggling multiple demands, adapting to new situations and new ideas or innovative approaches. It means you can stay focused on your goals, but easily adjust to how you get there. You can meet new challenges and you're nimble and adjusting to sudden change. You're comfortable with the uncertainty that leadership can bring. The empathy competence means you have the ability to sense others' feelings and how they see things. You take an active interest in their concerns. You pick up cues to what's being felt. With empathy, you sense unspoken emotions. You listen attentively. You understand the other person's point of view, the terms in which they're thinking about what's going on. Empathetic leaders are able to get along well with people of very different backgrounds and cultures, and to express their ideas in ways that another person will understand. Empathy doesn't mean psyching out the other person so you can manipulate them, but rather it's knowing how best to collaborate with them. Organizational awareness means the ability to read a group's emotional currents and power relationships, identify influencers, networks, and the dynamics that matter in making decisions. A leader who can recognize networking opportunities and read key power relationships will do a better job at leading. Such leaders not only understand the forces at work in an organization, but also the guiding values and unspoken rules that operate among people. Influence as a competence refers to the ability to have a positive impact on others, to persuade or convince them to gain their support. If you're strong in the influence competence, you're persuasive and engaging, and you can build buy-in from key people. Remember, leadership is the art of getting work done well through other people, and influence is the most powerful way to do that. The coach and mentor competency is the ability to foster the long-term learning or development of others by giving feedback and support. You have a genuine interest in helping them develop further strengths. You give timely, constructive feedback. You understand the person's goals and you try to find challenges for them. The inspirational leadership competence is the ability to guide people to get the job done, to bring up their best. With inspiration, you can articulate the shared mission in a way that motivates and offers a sense of common purpose beyond people's day-to-day tasks. The teamwork competence is the ability to work with others toward a shared goal, participating actively, sharing responsibility and rewards, and contributing to the capability of the team. You emphasize and create an atmosphere of respect, helpfulness, and cooperation. You can draw others into active commitment to the team's effort. Leaders skilled at the teamwork competence build spirit, positive relationships, and pride of identity at being on the team. And it's not just teams. This competence holds the key to collaboration of any kind. We're almost done. The conflict management competency means the ability to help others through emotional or tense situations, to tactfully bring disagreements into the open, and to define solutions that everyone can endorse. Leaders who take time to understand the different perspectives work toward finding a common ground on which everyone can agree. They acknowledge the views of all sides while redirecting energy toward a shared ideal or an agreeable resolution. Clearly, being able to manage conflict matters for leaders. But that doesn't mean convincing other people that yours is the correct opinion. There's a difference between winning and effectively managing conflict. Daniel Goleman and Richard Boyatzis developed an instrument in partnership with Korn Ferry to help people who want to develop their strengths in emotional intelligence. The assessment tool is called the Emotional Social Competence Inventory, ESCI. It's a 360-degree measure, meaning that you first evaluate yourself and then ask 10 people who know you well and whose opinions you value and trust to rate you anonymously. The information collected is then fed back to you as an aggregate with a profile of your strengths and weaknesses. The value of the ESCI is that you can understand how others see you in relation to each of the emotional intelligence competencies. The tool also helps you identify which competencies you're skilled at and which you may need to strengthen in partnership with an EI certified coach or development on your own. Wouldn't that be interesting for all of us to take? So, how do leaders apply these skills and traits? That took me to an article written by Tom Stevens. Slide 3, please. Tom Stevens, artist aficionado, leadership aficionado, retired small-town mayor, executive coach, strategic planning facilitator, and leadership speaker. The article titled 7 Uncommon Leadership Lessons from the Wizard of Oz. Next slide, please. 80 years ago, MGM produced one of the best and most beloved movies of all time, based on L. Frank Baum's The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. The original book was published in 1900, the first of 14 Oz books written by Baum, and followed by dozens more from other authors. The 1939 film, starring Judy Garland, is so well crafted it continues to enchant audiences today. Also offers some important leadership lessons. There's no place like home, and no motivator like clarity of purpose. You have to hand it to Dorothy. She fully engages the wonders, adventures, friendships, and dangers she encounters in Oz, but she is never deterred from her purpose in finding her way home. Does your organization have that clarity of purpose and vision? How, as a leader, do you keep yourself and your followers focused on that purpose? Exceptional teamwork derives from aligned WIIFM. What's in it for me? The reasons why each of the protagonists want to go to Oz are different, but the destination is the same. Everyone needs to get to the Emerald City to see the wizard. The journey is safer and more productive traveling together. and ultimately the Scarecrow, Tin Man, Cowardly Lion, and Dorothy become a powerful team that defeats their nemesis and creates a better future for Oz. Great causes must accommodate individual purposes. Effective leaders seek to understand the personal needs and motivations of followers and help to align individual purposes with the higher purpose of the organization. Head, heart, courage, and spirit are cornerstones of character. The Scarecrow needs a brain, Tin Man a heart, Lion courage, and Dorothy her home. One reason the Wizard of Oz endures is because it deeply resonates with our experience of the human condition. We recognize that to be our best as a human or team or leader, we must draw from head, heart, courage, and spirit. Yet none of us are fully complete in these respects, and our endeavors are often interdependent. The leaders we need for today's world, not to mention tomorrow's, are those who have significant mastery of these four benefactors of character: wisdom, humanity, courage, and resilience, and who also recognize their limitations. Deal with what comes at you, but don't lose faith. Just when you think it can't get worse, here come the flying monkeys. So deal with it. Companies that sustain success face brutal reality head on, while at the same time never lose faith in their ability to prevail, notes Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great. Collins observes the good to great companies faced just as much adversity as the comparison companies, but responded to that adversity differently. They hit the realities of their situation head on. As a result, they emerged from adversity even stronger. The world is full of lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Wise leaders keep their people moving down the yellow brick road. They deal head on with obstacles, stay true to their values and mission, and always expect and give help along the way. Understand the difference between a role and who you really are. The wizard manipulates trappings of wizardly power to evoke fear, awe, and respect, but is able to provide genuine help only after he is engaged as a real person. Both wizards and leaders do well to present a powerful facade of office to the world, and at the same time, cultivate personal authenticity that sustains engagement with followers. Believe your own press clippings and ignore that person behind the curtain at your peril. It is in authentically connecting to other people that real leadership magic begins. Framing can produce magical results. Exceptional leaders can foster change by reframing how their followers look at the world. With the right frame, doors that seemed closed are open. Paths appear in the wilderness, and people suddenly possess what seemed out of reach. Scarecrow seeks a brain, but the wizard reframes the circumstances and produces a positive outcome. Why anybody can have a brain? That's a very mediocre commodity. Every pulse-animous creature that crawls on the earth or slinks through slimy seas has a brain. Back where I come from, we have university seats of great learning, where men go to become great thinkers. And when they come out, they think deep thoughts and with no more brains than you have. But they have one thing you haven't got, a diploma. Therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Universitaritas Commercioratium e Pluribus Unum, I hereby confer upon you the honorary degree of THD, Doctor of Thinkology. Framing based on smoke and mirrors ultimately is exposed as a sham. Framing based on substance, true wisdom, humanity, and courage provide deep value that change lives. No one else can do it for you. At the end of the movie, Glinda, the good witch, informs Dorothy that she has always had the power to go home. Why didn't you tell me? Dorothy rightly inquires, only to be told, because you have to find out for yourself. Some things you simply have to experience for yourself, and leadership is one of them. While perhaps informative, reading a book does not fully equip someone to ride a bike, drive a car, fly a plane, or be a leader. All of these things require experience. Reflection on experience in a way that informs how to handle future experiences is the fundamental key to development. Leadership is a developmental process. Help along the way is essential, but no one else can develop for you. Next slide, please. In conclusion, leadership is much more than telling people to go down the yellow brick road. It's about authentically engaging them in the adventure. On a side note, if you're interested in finding out about your emotional intelligence, call or email me for a request of an emotional intelligence self-assessment tool, 1 page long, and I'll email you a copy, and you can complete and grade it for yourself and make copies to give your 10 closest friends so they can get their feedback too. Do you have the courage to expand your emotional intelligence? Thank you. And as a side note, I just want to say, I asked our current president to take the test, and she scores very high in emotional intelligence. No, of course, right? We have seen that at work. Thank you.